I disappeared after my girlfriend's childhood sweetheart came back. On the anniversary, my girlfriend Pandora posted a circle of friends. Time flies. It's already the 9th year. After I liked it, the circle of friends was deleted in seconds. Until I accidentally saw my girlfriend's phone. A friend left a message on that circle of friends. It's been 9 years. You haven't forgotten him yet? I took a look at the photo of him. And he looked exactly like me. It turned out that the 9th year that my girlfriend commemorated was never me. It was her white moonlight Lucas. Later, I left silently. And when I was about to get married, I realized that my girlfriend had been looking for me like crazy for 10 years. On the 9th anniversary of my girlfriend and I, as usual, I booked a restaurant, prepared roses, and gave her an expensive necklace. Halfway through the meal, she hurried out to answer a phone call. When she came back, she only said that there was something urgent at the company, and I had to deal with it urgently. Then she left, leaving me alone facing a table of steak, pasta, and dessert. I didn't want to waste it, so I called my friends to come over to eat. Seeing that I was unhappy, Chase advised me, "Don't be sad. Pandora just got promoted to general manager of Greater China, so it's inevitable that she will be busy. Look, even though she's busy with work, she didn't forget to post a circle of friends to commemorate your 9th anniversary." I turned on my phone and saw that my girlfriend Pandora had just updated a circle of friends 3 minutes ago. Time flies. It's already been 9 years. My eyes were hot and I clicked a like. I was about to leave a message. "Where did you find this photo? I don't even remember taking such a photo." However, the next second, the circle of friends disappeared. At this moment, Chase asked me in confusion, "When did you take this photo? It looks like you but not quite like you." I can't tell what it feels like. I took it and saw that it was a screenshot of Pandora's circle of friends just now. At first glance, it was indeed me. But a closer look revealed a sense of weakness and brokenness in his eyebrows. And my eyebrows often carry a sense of firmness of years. This is not what I said myself, but the general evaluation of my partners after 10 years of hard work in the workplace. This sense of determination makes me invincible in the workplace. I enlarged the photo again and again, and saw a rose tattoo on the index finger of my right hand. I glanced at my right hand, and it was empty. My heart trembled immediately. I asked Chase to send me the screenshot, and after saving it, I found Pandora's number and called it. It rang for a long time, but no one answered. I called again, and the result was the same. Chase saw that my face was not right, and helped me up. "I'll take you home first." I took his car back home. It was raining heavily outside. In the sound of rain, I stared at the screenshot in my phone in a daze. He is not me, but he looks too much like me. Or rather, I look too much like him. Just when I was about to call Pandora again, the door opened. Pandora came in soaking wet. "Are you back?" There was no light in the room, and I asked faintly while sitting on the sofa, and knuckles that were holding the phone were aching because of the force. I tried to ask the questions I wanted to ask in a calm tone. At least, I didn't want to be a rascal before I was sure of the truth. However, Pandora just said and went into the bathroom. The sound of water splashing came from inside. For the first time, I picked up Pandora's phone. I opened WeChat, and the circle of friends was still there, but it was set to be invisible to me. Below the circle of friends were messages from Pandora's friends. "Damn. Lucas is back? This brother-in-law is invisible. Right? No way. Pandora. It's been 9 years. You haven't forgotten him yet?" Under this reply, Pandora replied with one word. This word was like a 1,000-pound weight falling from the air, smashing my heart to pieces. I suddenly felt so stupid. So stupid. I have lived for 30 years, and I am open and honest to others, but I am played as a substitute for someone else by the person next to me. Isn't this stupid enough? Didn't there ever be any sign telling me the truth? Why didn't I take my girlfriend's frowning brows seriously when I habitually touched her head? She said it would mess up her hair, and it wouldn't look good. When I always liked to wear black and gray clothes. She always suggested that I wear white. Ryan, your personality is already very cold. And wearing black and gray will make you even colder. White will make you look younger. I'm not the kind of person who likes to please others. But when facing a lover, I will always be as tolerant as possible. So, there are gradually more white clothes in my wardrobe. I think I did nothing wrong to make my partner happy. Because when I like women wearing dresses, Pandora, who is off work, will also change into the dress I like and pat my thigh and say, Ryan, come and sit. That charming sense of abstinence often fascinates me so much that I can't get out of bed in the morning. But now I think about it, this situation always happens when I wear a set of white clothes. I used to think it was some kind of aesthetic fetish of Pandora. Now I know that it was her obsession with a man for 9 years. That person is called Lucas. Looking at the man who has the same hair as me and wears the same white shirt in the photo, I never dreamed that one day childhood sweetheart substitute literature would happen to me. My heart hurts so much. When I held my chest, the door opened with a click and Pandora walked out. 3. Who is he? I pointed to the screenshot on my phone and asked Pandora. Pandora was stunned. She didn't answer my question immediately. Instead, she said, wait for me to get dressed first. I sat on the sofa calmly and waited for her to change clothes. Not pajamas, but a new dress. She leaned over and pressed my shoulders. Ryan, believe me, he is just a friend. He just returned to China and doesn't have many friends. So he asked me to pick him up. Pandora didn't even wait for my answer. She got up and tidied her clothes, picked up the umbrella on the sideboard and walked straight to the door. Pandora, I hope you don't regret it. I gritted my teeth and said this. But Pandora just paused after hearing that. Then opened the door and left. The rain outside the window was getting heavier. I heard footsteps getting farther and farther away. And I felt trembling all over. Even though I put on a thick cotton coat and wrapped myself in a thick quilt, I still felt so cold. So cold. When I took my temperature, I actually had a high fever. It was the first time I knew that when a person is extremely collapsed, they will unconsciously let their body collapse in an instant. The thermometer showed 40 degrees. I was dizzy. And the first person I thought of was Pandora. I sent her the temperature of the thermometer. It's raining too hard outside. It's hard to get a taxi. I guess you haven't walked far. Can you take me to the hospital first? This time, Pandora replied quickly. But she replied, don't make a fuss. Ryan, wait until I get back to talk. My teeth chattered as I replied, Pandora, I'm not making a fuss. I really have a fever. Please come back. However, this message was like an autumn leaf floating on the sea, with no response. I tried to call a taxi using the app, but it didn't work. My car happened to be taken to the Ford shop for maintenance. To be honest, even if my car was in the garage at the moment, how could I joke about other people's lives? I called Chase. Chase was with me in the hospital. Do you want to call Pandora? After all, you are her boyfriend. My lips turned pale and I shook my head silently. But, Ryan, are you really going to break up like this? 9 years. Without you, Pandora would be where she is today. Now she is richer and more powerful than you. Why would she leave you behind? Chase gritted his teeth. At least I have to ask someone to beat her up to vent my anger. I waved my hands and smiled bitterly. How can one wake up a person who pretends to be asleep? The answer is, never. I don't want to waste time anymore. This is not my style. Ryan. My heart is broken into pieces and I have no strength. For I stayed in the hospital for 2 days. Pandora didn't call me or send me a message. Instead, I sent her a message. Pandora, let's talk. Ryan, I'm very busy with work these days. Lucas is not in a good state and needs someone to accompany him. I saw Chase posted on WeChat Moments. I feel relieved that he is taking care of you. Wait a few more days until I'm done with this. Okay? Wait. This word again. When we talked about the 4th year, I discussed marriage with Pandora. My parents were urging me to get married. And I wanted to settle down quickly because I loved Pandora. What did Pandora say at that time? Ryan. My career is not stable yet. Can you wait a little longer? I don't want to hold you back. Yes. At that time I had entered senior management. And Pandora had just been promoted to a small supervisor. I understand the psychology of a woman wanting to be strong in front of a man. So, I waited for another 2 years. In the 6th year, I proposed the plan to get married again. What did Pandora say this time? Ryan. I have just entered the senior management and my position is not stable yet. If I get married at this time, I am afraid that people will take advantage of me by saying that my family affects my career. I remember that I was unhappy. But I love Pandora. Love made me give in again. Later, I learned that Pandora asked me to wait because Lucas asked her to wait. He asked her to wait for 10 years. And Pandora spent a full 9 years of my life for this 10-year agreement. If I hadn't forgotten to block that circle of friends, there is no doubt that Pandora would have really taken me 10 years. If Lucas was willing to fulfill his 10-year dream, she would have told me to get out. If Lucas didn't want to, she might have married me. No one knows that there was such a conspiracy behind our relationship. But it doesn't matter anymore. 5 Back home. Looking at the house where I have lived for 9 years. It was full of shadows of me and Pandora. I started from our bedroom. I started to clean up the clothes that have been with me for a long time. I hung up the white clothes one by one. I took out the black and gray clothes one by one, folded them neatly, and put them in my suitcase. After cleaning, I took a look at the closet. The left half was Pandora's dark clothes, and the right half was her favorite white clothes. I seemed to see Pandora standing on the left and Lucas standing on the right. I think Pandora should have seen this magical fantasy. She really wanted to live that kind of life. This family should be half her and the other half Lucas. But, what a pity. I have occupied that half for the past 9 years. Pandora must have thought this many times. I went to the study again. I love reading more than Pandora. Because in addition to being a corporate executive, I am also a writer. Therefore, more than half of the books in the study are mine. I cleared out more than a dozen large boxes. When the moving company called by Chase took away my books, the study seemed to have been robbed. Only a few love stories that I don't like to read were left. I picked it up and accidentally opened it. There were words on the title page. Lucas gave it. Oh, so that's it. Because it was given by Lucas. It was read countless times by Pandora's hands. The fluffy pages made me imagine the feeling of Pandora stroking it when she missed Lucas. Stroking the pages was like stroking Lucas' body. I laughed at myself and put the books on the bookshelf. There was no trace of me on the whole wall. Only Lucas was left. Isn't this exactly what Pandora wanted? Then, I came to the kitchen. 6 When I came to the kitchen, I thought of Pandora's love for me. I remembered how Pandora stopped me when I said I wanted to go out for quarantine during the COVID-19 pandemic. Ryan. We are partners. And it is my responsibility to take care of you. She asked me to lie down. Boiled water for me. And cooked for me. I woke up in a daze in the middle of the night and muttered only one sentence. I'm so thirsty. Pandora would quickly hand me the water. Drink it. Ryan. Drink the water and you'll be fine. During the 3 years of the pandemic, she never asked me to go out to stock up. She said, Ryan, it's dangerous outside. I'll come. I'm in good health. I stood in the middle of the kitchen and thought carefully many times. Chase said I looked calm. But he didn't know that a man's calmness is a dead heart. When the heart is dead, even crying can't come out. Pandora. Can you understand? 7 I sat there blankly until the evening. I watched the sun set from the window. and then saw the moon rise from the window again. Then, I realized that the person I was waiting for would never come back. She waited for 9 years of tenderness. Far more than the 9 years of making do with me. Goodbye, Pandora. I got up, dragged my suitcase, and walked to the side cabinet, where I saw the photo of me and Pandora. There is no trace of us in this house. This photo, give it to her. I don't mind if it is torn up or thrown into the trash can. I accepted an invitation from a company far away in the United States and resigned from my old employer in China. The moment the plane took off, I still received a call from the human resources of my old employer. Mr. Liu, I think it is necessary to tell you. Mr. Zhang of DAJN Group. Pandora called and asked me if you were on a business trip. I think you didn't tell her about your resignation. So I called to ask. I expressed my gratitude. Just say I was on a business trip. Don't say anything else. After hanging up the phone, I looked at my phone. Pandora's messages came pouring in. Ryan, why didn't you answer my call? Have you been discharged from the hospital? You didn't tell me what's going on now. You're not still angry, are you? I told you that we're just friends, and it'll be fine after this period of time. After all, she just broke up, and we're classmates. Ryan, you're a male executive of a listed company. You can't be so petty, right? Oh, I just called your company. Oliver said you were on a business trip. So I guess you're well. And I'm relieved. Have a good business trip. And we'll talk about everything when you come back. Love you. I looked at these text messages and felt like they were from my last life. To be more precise, I think these messages were sent to the wrong recipient by a woman named Pandora. So, I deleted them with one click. I turned off the phone and got on the plane 9. After landing, I threw my old phone into the drawer and used the new one assigned by the company. I was busy looking for a house and getting in touch with the new team. This American company had contacted me a long time ago, and the salary was 3 times higher than that in China. But at that time, I thought it was too difficult in a foreign country. So I declined. Unexpectedly, I never gave up here. Now, my arrival is a 2-way trip. I suddenly felt a little fortunate that Pandora chose her childhood sweetheart instead of me. It only took about 3 days for my work to get on track. I took a breath and took out the old phone I brought from China from the drawer. There were many photos in it that I couldn't bear to delete. I planned to delete those from Pandora. As for my own handsome photos, I couldn't bear to part with any of them. But as soon as I turned on the phone, thousands of messages from Pandora poured in, almost freezing my phone. Ryan, what do you mean? Where are the books in the study? And what about the clothes in the closet? Aren't you just on a business trip? Reply to my message. Ryan, there's really nothing between Lucas and me. I admit that we were together before, but that's all in the past. You're the only one in my heart. Ryan, when will you come back? Reply to me. Okay? Even if it's just one word. Let me know that you're still here. Okay? Don't be angry. I beg you. I clenched my phone tightly, and my parents came over and patted my shoulders. When I came to the United States, the company promised to apply for a family reunion visa for my parents. So, they came with me. In addition, the only one who knew where I went after I resigned was Chase. But he had blocked and deleted all Pandora's contact information. And he went to work in Northern Europe. On the contrary, I was busy after landing, and I didn't have time to delete Pandora. But it didn't matter. I took out the SIM card directly. When I was about to uninstall WeChat, my hand slipped into another app. I clicked on it and it turned out to be the surveillance system when I lived with Pandora. My parents had gone out for a walk, leaving me alone on the sofa. It was rare for me to rest, so I simply took out a large bag of potato chips, opened it, and clicked on the surveillance system to watch it. The first video was a surveillance playback from 3 days ago. I thought about it, and it was the day I just landed in the United States. That was the day Pandora called my former company, and I asked the Human Resources Department to reply to her that I was on a business trip. Seeing that home in the video again, I felt like I was in another world. For a moment, I really questioned whether this was the home where I had lived with a woman for 9 years. There was no trace of me in it, except for the side cabinet, which also had a photo of me and Pandora left when I left. After a while, the sound of the password lock came from the quiet house. The face inside was very familiar to me. Pandora. She looked really good in a skirt. A bit like the beautiful heroine who glows in a TV series. I stuffed a handful of potato chips into my mouth. It was really delicious. A must-have for watching TV series. I recommend everyone to have a bag. The person who came in later was wearing a white shirt and had the same hairstyle as me. Yes. It was Lucas. I took a sip of Coke. Is this the new male owner of the house? He is really good-looking. When Pandora bought this house, the male owner she fantasized about was Lucas. I took a closer look at Lucas. The broken ins in his eyes made me, a man, feel an inexplicable desire to protect him. Unlike me, I am swift and decisive. Everyone says that my sharp eyes can kill all enemies in the business world. What a joke. Otherwise, how could I have become the executive general manager of the Greater China region at such a young age? I stuffed another handful of potato chips into my mouth. Tomato flavor. My favorite. The lights were bright, and Pandora led Lucas into the living room. Ryan has been on a business trip these 2 days. I told him that you just broke up and you are in a bad mood and need someone to take care of you. You stay here for a few days. He will understand. Pandora put Lucas on the sofa and poured him a glass of water. Lucas didn't answer, and his hand went around Pandora's neck. I thought you had been treating him as my substitute for so many years. I stopped chewing potato chips. Lucas. Our affairs are in the past. And the person I love now is Ryan. She took out the pills. Take the pills and go to sleep. Unexpectedly, Lucas hugged Pandora on his thigh. Pandora. You are deliberately mad at me, right? I don't believe you haven't thought about me for so many years. Otherwise, how could you bear to leave him to accompany me during this period? Lucas. Pandora's throat was hoarse. Don't be like this. She whispered. I have to admire the surveillance system that was installed at the beginning. How can the radio effect be so good? I looked around my current house. I will install such a system in the future. Maybe it will be useful. After all, the security in the United States is not very good. What if you don't? Pandora. I like you. And I believe you like me too. Otherwise, why would you look for him? That man who looks exactly like me. Lucas began to take off his shirt, and his proud figure was fully revealed under the light. Pandora couldn't hold back any longer, and the two people's heavy breathing intertwined. Such an exciting live broadcast is much more interesting than posting. I looked outside the door warily, and my parents hadn't come back yet. It seems that women can never pretend to be reserved for more than 3 seconds. The two people spun passionately, and I thought they would go to the bedroom. But they spun to the study, just when Pandora was about to be carried to the table by Lucas. She suddenly seemed to be frozen. Lucas's fingers were still groping and entangled on Pandora's body. But Pandora suddenly pushed him away. She walked around the living room, walked to the bedroom, and pushed open the closet door. The closet on the right was half empty in the whole wall-to-wall closet. Pandora approached, reached into the closet, and took out a piece of clothing. White. She threw it on the bed. Took out another one. Still white. And threw it on the bed again. She took out one after another. But each one was white. But Pandora, as if she had seen a ghost, still took clothes from the closet. Finally, she threw all the clothes in it on the bed. Ryan, what have you done? She was furious in the surveillance video, and her flushed face made me feel that the necklace on her neck would kill her. She strode to the living room, ignoring Lucas's shouting. Pandora, what's wrong with you? But Pandora only went to get the phone on the coffee table. What she said at first was actually a voice message. Ryan. What do you mean? Where are the books in the study? And what about the clothes in the closet? Aren't you just on a business trip? Reply to my message. As if she felt that sending a voice message was inappropriate. She lowered her head and started typing again. I remembered the messages I saw before. And I guess Pandora must have sent them to me at this time. I got up and got another bag of potato chips. Let me tell you, potato chips are the best snack when watching a drama. No one. I opened the potato chips and continued reading. 10 Ryan. There is really nothing between Lucas and me. I admit that we were together before. But that is all in the past. I only have you in my heart. Pandora. Lucas finally couldn't stand after hearing her words. Are you sure we are just in the past? If we are in the past, why did you come to pick me up as soon as I returned to China, and send me messages like time flies? It's already the 9th year in a blink of an eye. When others ask you if you still can't forget me, you still replied yeah. Pandora. Look at what you said yourself. Which one is true? Pandora slid down on the sofa. As if she didn't hear what Lucas said. I saw her start to call me. But the voice that kept coming from the other end was, the phone you dialed is turned off. Seeing that Pandora didn't say a word, Lucas didn't say anything else considerately, but walked to the sofa, stood behind Pandora, then stretched out his hand and leaned over to comfort her. However, what he got in return was Pandora's cold words, "Go ahead. I'll call you a car and take you back to the hotel." Lucas' body stiffened. Pandora. Do you know what time it is now? You want to drive me away at 2 o'clock in the middle of the night. Pandora pushed Lucas' hand away and stood up. She operated a few times on her phone. I've called a car for you. There are so many classmates in China. Just find one to accompany you. Pandora. Do you know that I just broke up and my emotions are very unstable? I have many friends in China. But I only trust you. I came back this time not only to visit relatives, but more importantly, I want to start over with you. Pandora. Since you posted Ryan's photos on WeChat Moments, I knew you had never forgotten me. You have to recognize your heart. And we should not miss each other again. Lucas. Pandora suddenly became like a deflated ball. Please go. I can't lose Ryan. He is like you. But he is not you after all. And you are not him. His eyes do not have your broken feeling. His eyes are only firm. I suddenly feel that I am tired of your brokenness and weakness. I don't want to lose Ryan. Lucas did not move. But Pandora stood up, pushed the luggage to the door, and then opened the door. Ryan received my message and should be back soon. I don't want him to see you. Lucas was stagnant for a while. But seeing Pandora's face full of indifference, he finally pushed the suitcase away helplessly. Pandora closed the door. She scanned around, and finally walked to the bookcase, picked up the only thing I left in this room, the photo of us, and sat on the sofa all night, looking at her lonely look. I couldn't help but open another bottle of Coke. I have to say, no matter what drama you watch, in addition to potato chips, there should be something else to prepare. And there must be popcorn. Unfortunately, I don't have such things in my villa in the United States. So I opened another bag of chips. After all, the TV show wasn't over yet. 17 Pandora sat there all night until she got a call from her secretary in the morning and then left. When she came back, it was already evening. She didn't change her clothes and just sat on the sofa. Habitually sent me voice messages. I went to your company today. I said that if they didn't tell me where you were, I would withdraw the cooperation with them. It turned out that you were not on a business trip. You resigned. But they refused to tell me where you went after resigning. Ryan, I guess you should go out to relax. When are you going to come back? Send me a message. Okay? Even if it's just one word. Let me know you are still there. Okay? Don't be angry. I beg you. Ryan, I am very worried about you. Before you said you had a fever. I didn't send you to the hospital. It's my fault. But at that time, Lucas told me that he was heartbroken and didn't know who to look for. He only thought of me. So I softened my heart and went to take care of him. I was also sure that you must be fine. So I was relieved to be with Lucas. Can you forgive me? My mouth that was chewing potato chips suddenly stopped. Because I found that it didn't matter whether to forgive or not. What was important was that at this moment, there was only one voice in my mind. That is, you, Pandora. Are you worthy? Pandora had been sitting on the sofa, watching the phone. Whenever there was a sound, she would pick it up and read it. There were many messages about work, and many from Lucas. But Pandora just felt irritated. She put the phone upside down on the coffee table, got up and walked to the kitchen. After standing for a while, she probably felt a little hungry. So she opened the refrigerator. 12 When Pandora opened the refrigerator, her expression was obviously wrong. She tentatively took out the thing she saw in the refrigerator. It was a sea blue cake with white waves made of cream on it. The cake was a little stale. But she remembered very clearly a major agreement between her and Ryan. For this agreement, they even drew a sketch together, and she carefully kept the sketch in a frame. It was placed in her office. She often imagined that she could have a child with Ryan, like him, with a firm gaze and decisive actions. She thought of Lucas, who looked exactly like Ryan. When she met Ryan, she almost burst into tears for a moment. She and her childhood sweetheart Lucas had an agreement for 10 years. If Lucas hadn't married yet, she would marry him. But Lucas was abroad, and the two actually had no contact. Pandora relied on Ryan to spend countless nights missing Lucas. She asked Ryan to wear the white shirt that Lucas loved to wear and cut his hair the way Lucas liked it the most. Ryan looked very much like Lucas at that time. But Pandora later found that Ryan was Ryan. He was not like Lucas at all. So easy to give in and break up. Easily compromised with his family. Broke up with her and went abroad. By the time of the epidemic, Pandora was no longer obsessed with what Ryan wore, or what kind of hair he cut. In those years, Ryan had long hair and stayed at home in black bear pajamas. She saw Ryan's unique dependence on her behind his determination. From that moment on, she yearned to have a child with Ryan. They formed a family and went on the next journey of life. On the 9th anniversary, she was ready to propose. But just then, Lucas called her. He said he had just broken up and didn't want to live anymore. Pandora, maybe you can still save me. She didn't want to tell Ryan that Lucas was a person she had dated before, because she was afraid that Ryan would be angry. But she didn't want Lucas to really die. So she lied and said she was busy with work and had to deal with it, and put the proposal behind her. During the days in the hotel, Pandora opened a double bed, and she slept in the bed next to Lucas. During those days, Lucas woke up in the middle of the night and said he wanted to die. She really couldn't bear to let him go. But later, she felt that avoiding Ryan was not a solution. So she decided to take Lucas home to live. Ryan should not be so angry under her nose. But Pandora didn't expect that when she came back, Ryan had already left. She sensed the crisis. That it was not a short-term loss, but an eternal departure. She panicked. She admitted that she almost made a big mistake in the face of Lucas's initiative. But looking at the empty study, and the half-empty black and gray tones of the closet, she came to her senses and realized that she was about to lose the most important part of her life. That was the mark of love that had been deposited in her life for 9 years. She knew it was not pure at the beginning. But later, with the polishing of time, the gem of love had been polished to be so shining. She pushed Lucas away, feeling like she was sinking into the abyss. She sent Ryan countless voice messages, countless text messages, and countless phone calls. Ryan did not block any of her contact methods. This was more terrifying than blocking and deleting. This proved that Ryan didn't care about her at all. He didn't care whether she would be with Lucas, whether she would kneel down to keep him, and even whether she would remember Ryan. He gave up. Pandora couldn't figure it out. She sat in the house for several nights, watching the sky get brighter and then gradually darker. Between the light and the dark, she couldn't figure it out. She went out to accompany Lucas for a few days. And Ryan gave up on her so decisively. When she thought of this, she was hungry. She hadn't slept or eaten for several days. And she really felt hungry at this time. Her stomach told her that she must eat something, otherwise she would die. She didn't want to die yet. She really wanted to say a word to Ryan. Even if Ryan only gave her one word. Even if she was told to get lost. She still felt that there was hope. Pandora opened the refrigerator and saw the sea blue cake inside. If we have a child in the future, let's make a cake for him as soon as we know the news. Right? Pandora. How about a sea blue cake? Ryan was very talented and quickly drew a rough outline on a 7-inch cardboard with colored pencils. Great. Ryan. How about using white cream to pile up waves on the sea blue cake? Perfect. Ryan drew a few more strokes on the cardboard. Our children should be like the sea. Born free, living broadly, and having an infinite life. Dayu-on said yearning lie. That day, she and Ryan were affectionate until dawn. The two of them were looking forward to a new life together. And it was also on that night that she prepared to propose to Ryan. However, now without her Pandora's participation, the sea blue cake about the child was suddenly placed in the refrigerator. When Pandora brought her out, she was shaking all over. She started to send messages to Ryan again. Ryan, you don't know how much I want to have a child with you. Please. Let's get married and do all the things we promised. Okay? Please. Ryan. I'll feel better if you just say get lost to me. She sent many messages, but all fell on deaf ears. Pandora knew Ryan's character. He made this cake to fulfill their dream of having a child. She remembered the rainy night, when Ryan had a high fever and asked her to take him to the hospital. She remembered the afternoon when Ryan sent her a message in the hospital to chat with her. She thought about it, and suddenly slapped herself twice. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. She wiped it. It didn't hurt. But then she felt as uncomfortable as if she had a fever. Because her teeth began to click unconsciously. She looked at the sea blue cake. But she didn't feel the freedom of blue or the vastness of the sea. She just felt like an executioner who killed the child that she and Ryan wanted so much. Pandora, who was used to being called Shang by everyone, now looked like an old centenarian, sitting alone at the dining table. She stared blankly at the sea blue cake, like a withered and rotten wood. Suddenly, she saw the note under the cake. She slowly pulled out the note with her hands, and Ryan's vigorous handwriting was on it. In any case, Pandora, when you see this cake, please light a candle for our non-existent child. After reading Ryan's message, Pandora felt her eyes were sore and unbearable. She reached out to wipe her tears. But the more she wiped, the more tears flowed from her fingers. She couldn't control her crying, so she tried to grit her teeth to stop herself from crying out loud. But after suppressing it, she still cried. She cried loudly. But the room was empty. The man named Ryan would never come to hug her again. Once, she was frustrated in the workplace. And it was the man named Ryan who held her through the difficult night. Later, he helped her career. Later, when she was crying with joy at the height of her career, it was the man named Ryan who hugged her first and praised her as the most perfect woman in the world. She was very happy that she was such a perfect existence in Ryan's eyes. But Pandora messed up all of this. She cried and cried until she suddenly lost her strength. A cake on the table mercilessly mocked all her stupidity and hypocrisy. She found a lighter, lit a candle, and stuck it on the cake. After the flames were completely extinguished, Pandora reached out and stuffed handfuls of cake into her mouth. The cake was no longer fresh. And the cream was as disgusting as the candle. But Pandora still stuffed handfuls of cake into her mouth. When she was almost done, she felt her stomach churning and vomited it all out. Then, a hot stream gushed out of her throat, and she fainted. 13 Ryan actually turned off the video when he saw Pandora eating the cake out of control. He lost his only interest in Pandora after he saw Pandora light candles for the non-existent child. Her tears, the blood at the corners of her mouth, and the bumps on her face from the blows he had caused Ryan to feel that he had brought it upon himself. He turned off the video, turned off his useless phone, and threw it into the drawer again. Then he went to the master bedroom for a nap. He didn't think that a woman like Pandora would always be responsible for her actions. She was young, rich, and her looks were among the best. Going crazy for a few days was nothing more than making herself feel better. After drinking for a few more days, she would soon bring a different man home. Perhaps Pandora, who prefers substitute literature, will perform substitute literature again. It's not certain that she will find someone who looks very similar to herself. Ryan fell asleep like this. When he woke up, he started writing. The brand new environment in the United States gave him new inspiration. After typing a key, his thoughts began to flow like a spring, and a feeling called flow hit him. At this time, Pandora was lying in the hospital. Even she herself did not believe that she vomited blood because of heartache. This reminded her of the scene in The Way of Heaven, where Ding Yuan Ying vomited blood after Rui Xiaonin's death. It turns out that people really vomit blood when they are extremely heartbroken. She thought of Ryan again. She wondered if it was possible that as long as she took the initiative to find him, he would be moved by her sincerity, and the two of them would be reunited? Is it possible that this was a harsh test for Ryan? With such an obsession, Pandora began to look for Ryan frantically after being discharged from the hospital. But she never expected that Ryan's parents had blocked her, and the house was empty. Maybe Ryan had already prepared to disappear completely, and none of their neighbors knew where the Liu couple had gone. As for other relatives, she had no contact information. Chase, who was most likely to know Ryan's contact information, had already gone to Northern Europe. He deleted his contact information earlier than Ryan. As for the others, she could only think of Ryan's former company. But no matter how she pestered, the people in the former company said that they only knew that Mr. Liu resigned and wanted to rest. They really didn't know the rest. Because she always went to the affiliated companies to make trouble, Pandora was considered by shareholders to be damaging to the company's image and removed her from the position of executive director of Greater China. Her fame and income dropped sharply. Many of her connections were cut off at once. Even the group of people who used to flatter her every day disappeared without a trace. But Pandora didn't care. She gave a lot of money to some so-called detective agencies and asked them to find Dayuan. But in the end, she only got one answer. Ryan was not in the country at all. So which country did he go to? Pandora was like crazy. Every day she was either on the way to find clues about Ryan or on the way to the bar to drink. Lucas was very determined, and ran to her every day. She even said, "Since you could find him because he looked like me, why can't you treat me as him?" Pandora scolded her. Disgusting. But in fact, from beginning to end, the only one who made people disgusted was Pandora herself. She lived in a reversed way every day and night, and finally sold the house where she and Ryan lived. She lived in a very small apartment. She didn't want the house to remind herself all the time that she was the one who ruined everything. Her Ryan, the Ryan she had plans to propose to, and the child she had longed for a long time, the child who would be as determined as Ryan. All of this would never happen again. Later, she finally got a piece of news that Ryan was in the United States. She didn't believe it at first. Ryan once said that he would not travel far away, while his parents were still there. He would not go abroad. But when Pandora saw the book written by Ryan, she finally knew why she couldn't find him. Ryan was in a confidential industry. And for the sake of career development, he cut off all social platforms. This is the requirement of the corporate confidentiality agreement. If Ryan had not published books in the United States, the probability of her finding him would be very small. At this time, a full 10 years had passed since she lost Ryan. She finally saw Ryan again. However, it was in the published books. After years of precipitation, Ryan's eyes were more determined and more charming than before. At that moment, Pandora's heart was surging. She took a good shower in the apartment and went to the barber shop again. Her figure was still well maintained. She was a drunk woman when she went in. After a meal, she returned to the young, beautiful and rich appearance of 30 years old. This good skin is really a gift from God to Pandora. She has not been in a relationship for so many years, and her friends around her bluntly said that it was a waste. In fact, Pandora herself did not understand why her heart was staring at Ryan after Ryan left. In this life, all her obsessions became to see Ryan once, tell him that she still loves him, admit her mistakes to him, and tell him her love. On the flight to the United States, she finished reading Ryan's book again. She grasped an important piece of information. That is, Ryan is still unmarried. Maybe Ryan has been waiting for her for so many years, waiting for her to have a child, who is free and as vast as the sea. She drove the rented car to Ryan's residence with extreme excitement. 14 She knocked on the door, but the one who opened the door was a fat white man. When Pandora asked Ryan in English, the white lady told him, "Today is Ryan's wedding day. It's in church no. 3. I came to help him get the ring." He was too nervous and his mind was blank. He even forgot to take the ring. "If you can't find a place, you can come with me." The white lady hurriedly closed the door of the villa, and they walked through the green lawn and onto the main road. Some people kept walking out of the villas on both sides. "They are all going to Ryan's wedding," the white lady introduced with a smile, and her steps were very fast. Pandora stepped on the steps and felt her body swaying. When she arrived at the door of the church, she was a little afraid to take a step. "Why do you look more nervous than the groom?" The white lady invited her in enthusiastically. "It seems that you should be Ryan's friend. You should wish him well, because he and the bride have been in a long-term relationship for 9 years. In your Chinese language, doesn't 9 mean long?" The white lady pushed open the door of the church, and Pandora stood outside the door. From Ryan's perspective, he only saw his white friend at the time, and then he saw a familiar figure at the door of the church. He didn't think much and walked through the crowd to get the ring given by his friend. After getting the ring, he immediately went to see his bride. Min, the female photographer who won the Putsilai Award, has extraordinary talent and beauty. Ryan looked at the bride with a smile full of happiness. This person has waited for him for 9 years. Just because of his inner persistence, he wanted to get married in the year when The Troubled Times was published. Min actually agreed. She said, "This is very romantic. 9 stands for a long time. Honey, Chinese is really profound." When Ryan took the ring and prepared to go on stage, he finally caught a glimpse of the familiar figure at the door of the church. Ryan recognized it. It was Pandora. Ryan thought she might be here for tourism and accidentally broke into his wedding. They were all Chinese, so Ryan subconsciously gave her a polite smile. Then she went on stage. Pandora did not see the so-called reunion of old friends, crying and reconciling after thousands of rehearsals. Not only that, Pandora was deeply hurt by Ryan's extremely polite smile. This time, she came for Ryan. Every hair she cut, every inch of skin she carefully cared for when taking a bath, every second of her nervous mind when choosing clothes, and every second of her mood when she got on the flight were all about Ryan. She didn't expect that Ryan actually started a new relationship in the first year after leaving her. There was no so-called attachment, no so-called persistence to have a child with her. Pandora was just an old person standing in the past. And Ryan, like his eyes, always lived his life firmly. When the church's wedding march sounded, Pandora watched Ryan and the beautiful woman beside him exchange vows. Priest, groom, are you willing to marry the bride? Groom, yes, I do. Priest, whether she is rich or poor in the future, or whether she is healthy or unwell in the future, are you willing to be with her forever? Groom, yes, I do. The priest turned to the bride. Priest, bride, are you willing to marry the groom? Bride, yes, I do. Priest, whether he is rich or poor in the future, or whether he is healthy or unwell in the future. Are you willing to be with him forever? Bride, yes. I do. Priest, okay. I declare in the name of the Holy Spirit, the Father, and the Son that the bride and groom are married. Now, the groom can kiss the bride. No one noticed that when the happy couple kissed. A woman named Pandora walked out of the church at this moment. She walked desperately in her expensive high heels and saw a sky-blue sea. The white waves rolled, just like the memories she was waiting for. She took off her shoes, put them neatly, and then walked into the depths step by step. Ryan, maybe we can only meet again in another world, where we can get married, have children and grow old together. I know that all the results now are my karma. But I still won't wish you happiness. Because my love has ended with you. 3 days later, in a place called Saskatchewan, someone found a female corpse in the shallow sea. However, Ryan, who had just got married, had no idea. After all, after being transported by the ocean, the corpse was too far away from him. More importantly, he, who had just got married, was immersed in a brand new happiness. He had long forgotten the past and cherished the present. Because only the present is eternal.